Hi, I'm Scott Ervin, also known as Uncle Scott. I'm from the Foodies and the Speakeasy Bakery and feedSCV, a local nonprofit. Today we're going to make a strata. Now there's a basic formula that you can follow and you can make almost any kind of strata that you want. When I say any kind, I mean different flavorings, seasonings, add-ins, but if you start with the basic ratios, you can start with that and then run with everything else that you like in accordance with your taste. So the ratio that I usually start off with is 4 cups of bread, 2 cups of milk, 2 cups of eggs, which is about 6 large eggs, and 2 cups of cheese. The sausage that I'm going to use, and I know that heads are going to explode all over the internet, but I'm actually going to use a vegetarian sausage. So yes, you can make a vegetarian strata. You can actually use, obviously, any kind of sausage that you want. Adjust it to your taste. This is an Italian sausage, spicy, or not spicy, but medium spice. So the same way you would if you were going to have a real sausage, take the casing off. Okay, so let's give it a nice chop. And then a little bit more after that. Keep in mind the size of what you've got here as far as what the mouthfeel is going to be. So, I mean, if you like big chunks, then keep it big. I happen to like smaller pieces. This is a non-stick pan. Let's see how our sausage is doing. Okay. While the meat is cooking, let's get some of the other ingredients actually prepared. So let's start with the milk and eggs. We said that the eggs are about 6 large eggs makes 2 cups. All right, let's beat those up a little bit. You don't want to get it too frothy. All right, so it's time for the milk, and we said 2 cups of milk. You can use really any kind of milk that you want. I've got some whole milk here. So, you know, cooks out there who recognize the ingredients know that what we're making here is a custard. And a custard with bread is bread pudding. So what this really is a savory bread pudding. All right, so let's get some of the other flavorings in. We talked about some mustard powder. You can actually use like a Dijon mustard if you like, really any kind of mustard that you want, and it just kind of kicks things up a little bit. So I'm just going to shake a little bit in there, maybe a teaspoon or 2 tops. Now, here comes the big decision. A little bit of hot sauce. Do I go for the Elijah's Ghost? This stuff grows hair places, so I'm gonna say no. The Caribbean is sort of the medium one, so I'm just gonna put a little bit in here, just a couple of drops, because it's pretty flavorful. A couple more drops. What the heck? All right. So about a teaspoon of the Worcestershire, you know, this stuff. And this is going to give it that flavor they called umami. You know what umami is, right? The definition is, I don't really know what that taste is, but I like it. So there we go, umami. All right. Now we said a little bit of lemon zest. Just a touch. Kind of brightens things up a little bit. And then some thyme. So that's about, maybe 2 teaspoons. That's plenty. So we'll give that a good chop. Okay, let's get that in there. Okay, I think that's done. So we'll put that over there to dry up a little bit. All right, so the last thing we have to do is get the cheese ready. So we said 2 cups, so I'm going to do a cup of, this is a medium cheddar, and then I'm going to do a cup of Monterey Jack. That's looking like a cup. Okay, so let's prepare our cast iron. Now, if you were going to be using real sausage, after you saute it, you're going to have some drippings. And I'm going to use butter to grease the inside of this cast iron pan, but if I had the drippings, I'd put that in as well, because it enhances the flavor of the bottom layer. Just get some butter in there. Okay, so we're going to start layering. We're going to start creating our strata. You can use a glass baking dish, or you can use any kind of a casserole that can withstand, 350 degrees in the oven. I like to use cast iron because it gives it a nice crust on it. But again, if you don't have cast iron, any kind of casserole that you would normally use, you can use. So we're going to start layering it, creating our strata. So the first thing is put about 1/3 of your bread, and then about 1/3 of your cheese. Now at this point, I like to put the sausage or whatever you're going to do on your add-ins on this layer. I'm not sure why. That was just my habit. So I'm going to put all of it in. And as I go, I'm going to season it with some salt and pepper. Next layer of bread, so another 1/3 of the bread, and then another 1/3 of the cheese. I like to save a little bit more than 1/3 for the top, so you have that nice cheesy top. And the rest of the bread, and the rest of the cheese. Bread, cheese, eggs, milk, more bread, more cheese. What's not good about it? That's all the cooking we're going to do today. But we are going to dump this egg, milk, herb, and seasoning over it. And try to disperse it fairly evenly. Try to cover all the, get all the pieces of bread with a little bit of something. It's going to sit overnight, so it will naturally just sort of get absorbed, but the better you can disperse it, the better it'll be. I mean, I'd say the first time I ever made one, I thought, boy, that just looks like it's too soupy. It's got too much liquid in there. But the thing is the bread absorbs it when you put it in the fridge overnight. So when you take this out in the morning, you may not see any liquid at all. It might be all absorbed into the bread. So a little bit more pepper, a little bit more salt. And then the last thing is butter. More good stuff. So about 3 to 4 tablespoons of butter, so about a half of a stick. And just drizzle that over the top. So it's been 24 hours. We let it sit in the fridge. Everything, all the flavors kind of melded together. The milk and egg got absorbed into the bread. We're going to throw it into, uncovered, into a 350-degree oven and let it cook for somewhere between 50 minutes and an hour and 15 minutes. Check the inside doneness with a toothpick or any kind of instrument that when you stick it in and take it out, you'll see if there's anything stuck to that. If there isn't, if it comes out clean, then you're good to go. So I've checked it a few times and it's ready to come out. Make sure you, protect yourself. It's going to be hot, especially if you got one of those cast iron pans. Or I guess if you're going to have any kind of pan, it's going to be hot. Here we go. And there we go. We've got nicely toasted bread. The cheese is all nice and melty, and all of the liquids have been absorbed into the bread and cooked. So we've got a nice savory custard here. We probably want to let it sit for maybe 5 or 10 minutes because it's super hot right now, and then we'll dig in. All right, let's take a look. We've got sausage, we've got bread, we've got cheese, and it's nice and custardy. Let's give it a bite. I shouldn't talk with my mouth full, but wow. I mean, wow. It's super simple to make. And as I said before, one of the really nice things is, especially if you have guests, like your family's staying the night or something like that, you make it all the night before, and it doesn't take long at all to make. You throw it in the fridge. When you get up in the morning, you've got this wonderful dish. You can serve it as a main dish, or you can serve it as a side dish with some other stuff. But any way you cut it, you've got a savory custard. All right, so if you want the recipe, you can find it at feedSCV.org. And you can also follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching us on Food Sessions, and we hope to see you back here soon.
Hey everybody, this is Alexis Shahin, and today we're going to make one of my favorite pies, bittersweet chocolate silk pie. The reason why this is one of my favorite desserts is because it's satiny and mousse-like in texture, and you can make this without the addition of gelatin. This unique texture comes from a delicate network of melting chocolate and eggs and then folding in this amazing pillowy-like whipped cream. Let's start with our ingredients. To make the pie crust, you will need 1 1/2 cups of flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 6 tablespoons of cold unsalted butter, cubed, 2 tablespoons of cold shortening, also cubed, and 4 to 6 tablespoons of ice water. This is a variable, so you may need more or less. For the pie filling, we will need 4 eggs, 8 ounces of 60% bittersweet chocolate, chopped, 10 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 1 cup of heavy cream, 1 tablespoon of powdered sugar. Have extra heavy cream on hand to make whipped cream to garnish your pie, and then get yourself some cocoa powder to sprinkle on top. Let's begin by making our pie crust. Now this dough is really easy to make. It only requires about 10 minutes of your time, but it does need ample time to set, so you'll want to plan ahead. Begin by measuring out your flour and salt. Mix the flour and salt until well combined. Add your cubed butter and shortening pieces. Now we're going to use the cut-in method so that we can achieve that buttery, flaky texture that we love so much in a pie crust. Cutting in means incorporating the butter into the flour in such a way that the little lumps of raw butter and shortening remain whole within the flour mixture. Continue to massage the butter and shortening until they resemble small pea-sized pieces. Sprinkle ice water onto the mixture 1 tablespoon at a time. This is your variable, so you may need more or less than 4 to 6 tablespoons. Every time you add a new tablespoon of water, work the dough and really feel into the texture of it. You don't want it to be too dry or too wet. And you also don't want to work your butter or shortening too much. These pieces need to stay visible within your dough. This is what gives it that flaky consistency. Next, turn out the dough onto a slightly floured work surface, and then knead the dough a little bit, just until it comes together. Shape and flatten the dough into a disc shape, and then wrap it up in cellophane and chill it in the refrigerator for 2 hours or more. Roll the pie dough into a 1/8 inch thick circle, and then place it inside of a pie tin. You can use a 9-inch metal baking pie tin, or you can use a glass one. Cut the excess dough around the edges, leaving about a 1-inch overlap, and then fold the overlap under itself to create a thicker ring of crust around the edge. Now you're ready to crimp the crust. Work with one hand on the inside of the edge and one hand on the outside. Use your knuckle and pinch your fingers. Push the dough between your fingers and knuckle and create a nice little U or V shape. This is the fun part. I love this part, and I actually learned how to do this from my grandmother. Freeze this pie crust overnight. When you're ready to bake your pie crust, begin by preheating your oven to 350 degrees. We're going to be using baking weights for half of the bake time. Place a couple of sheets of cellophane over your frozen pie crust, and then fill your pie crust with rice or raw pinto beans. Then close over the top. Bake your crust for 15 minutes with the baking weights, and then remove the baking weights and allow your crust to bake for an additional 10 to 12 minutes or until the pie crust is a golden brown. Let your pie crust cool completely. Now it's time to make our filling. Whisk 4 eggs into a bowl and then place over a double boiler. Heat your eggs until 165 degrees. This is important. Don't overheat your eggs. Once your eggs hit 185 degrees, they become scrambled. Use a thermometer if you've got one. Let your eggs cool completely. Next, melt your chocolate over a double boiler. Allow the chocolate to cool slightly and then add it to the eggs. Mix the two together until incorporated, and then set aside to cool to room temperature. Cream the butter until it's nice and fluffy, and then add your chocolate mixture. Scrape down the sides of the bowl to incorporate all the butter, and then using a paddle attachment, whip this butter and chocolate mixture until it's fluffy and has changed slightly in color. This should take about 5 minutes. Set the mixture aside. Next, make your whipped cream. Add powdered sugar to the heavy whipping cream, and then whip it up until you've reached the stiff peak stage. Now, slowly and gently fold your whipped cream into the chocolate mixture until no white streaks are present. And then immediately pour your chocolate mousse into your cooled pastry crust. Smooth the top of your pie using a spatula, and then place it in the refrigerator to set for 8 hours. Once your pie is set, take some extra whipped cream and use it to decorate the top. You can pipe rosettes, as I have, or you can just plop a dollop right in the center. And then sprinkle a little cocoa powder on top, or perhaps take some chocolate pieces and sprinkle those on top. I hope this short video has inspired you to get into the kitchen and make something delightful. Mindful baking allows time for reflection, calm, and healing, especially during a time when there are constant distractions everywhere. Take the time to really smell the delicious aromas and just be in the moment. Happy baking, friends!
Hi, welcome back to Tips and Tricks in the Kitchen. The This is Tamra, once again coming to you from the downtown, the Maine. We love this venue. It's been a great time here. Today we are going to do how to work with fruit and how to peel it and how to get it down to where it's in your salad or in your fruit bowl that you're just going to put out as just mixed fruit. This might not be the ripest pineapple. It's not exactly fruit time of year right now. Nonetheless, we'll be able to show you exactly how to go ahead and do the peeling and the portioning down. One of the ways to tell if a pineapple is ripe is if the leaves pull out of it. So, as with a lot of things, the first thing you're going to do is kind of square off your bottom. You have less chance of your product rolling on you. All right, so we've done that. I'm also going to go ahead and lop off the top. I like to keep the top for when I'm making a fruit platter. I'm not going to go into it, but what I'll do is I'll take my scissors and I just kind of cut down and make a new triangle so you don't have all these dried leaves. Keep this, it's a nice decor. So, here we go. You have these things called eyes that are around here on your pineapple. So you can either cut deep enough on your first cuts that the eyes are taken out, or you do a thinner cut, and then we can use something called a Parisian scoop. These are Parisian scoops. Sometimes you call them melon ballers. This would be a great size to get those eyes out. All I'm going to do is follow right along the outside and cut down. Pretty easy. The important part is that I made myself that flat base so my fruit is not rolling on me. So I'm going to use the smaller Parisian scoop. Let's find, here's a good eye. So, and here's a good one too. And so I'm just going to kind of just do it like that. And out comes the eye. There you go. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over the slicing today. I like to start with 1 inch. That way I can always cut it down. But here we got our inch. You always have to deal with this pesky core in the middle. Here's a trick. Do you have cutters? If not, these are fabulous things to get, and you can use them way more in the kitchen than just dealing with fruit. I like to take the smallest cutter and then just take it and press it right down in the middle, and not only do I have a pretty decor, but look. So whether it's a cantaloupe, honeydew, watermelon, you're going to do the exact same thing again. Watermelon's going to be a little bit different because you don't have the seeds inside to deal with. But again, making flat sides. Don't think that this is going to be a ripe one either. You can tell that already. I can just see. And yeah, but it's not that time of year. But when it is, now you'll know. You'll be prepared and ready to go. Sometimes you have to go back. I think I left a little too much base there, see? But you just come around, right around. If this was a watermelon, all then I would do is just make those inch slabs. And then I can do wedges, I can do dice, whatever the recipe happens to call for. But we have seeds inside of our cantaloupe, so I'm just going to cut straight down the middle. Honeydew would have the seeds too. And then just using an ordinary spoon, and all you're going to do is just, kind of go right around where that seed bed is into your trash, and then just scrape them out. And there you go. Just make your strips. And then from your strips, then you can do your dice, however size you want. This time we are going to use the core because I have 2 apples, so I'm going to show you 2 different things. So you can go ahead, make your flat surface, and then you can use your core. Last time I used this, it's an older core, and the whole thing came apart. So let's hope that doesn't happen this time. So hopefully you get the idea, because that core can go right through there. But I'm going to show you another way in case you don't have a core. Here is where we're going to put into play our Parisian scoops. So we've taken our ends off. We're going to cut it in half. Sometimes they have them at the end, and sometimes There we go, perfect. And see, I just took that out like that. See this vein, quote unquote, that's through here? So I'm just going to put the front end of the scoop right there at the end of the vein on this side. I just pull it towards me. Same thing on the other side. And now I've got it cored. And then I go back and make my dice. Do you see the commonality that's coming through and whether it's fruits or vegetables? You slice, then you dice. I have a little tool. It has little teeth all the way around it for your strawberry. It's just kind of press it into one side, go right around, out pops your core. Now, if you were wanting to make a fan, you're going to have to choose your prettiest strawberry that still has this beautiful end, because you need to have it stay together at one side. You just kind of take your paring knife, come right through, and there you go. There's your fan strawberry. Kiwi, one of my favorites. How do you get the fruit out? Flatten out our ends. And then I'm going to cut it in half. I would have liked a spoon a little bit smaller than this, but this will definitely work. I'm going to go in between the flesh and the skin. I'm just going to push right up, right around the outside in between the flesh and the skin, and there I go. And I can do this even easier with a grapefruit spoon, because the grapefruit spoon has those little teeth like the corer, and so it kind of grips inside there. And there you go. And now you can slice, dice, whatever you might want to do. You may see recipes that call for something called a supreme of orange, lemon, lime, grapefruit, whatever it might be. And also when you want to make a fruit salad and you don't want the outside covering of each of the little segments that are inside of these, well, I think you know what we're going to do first. We're going to go ahead and cut off our ends. And again, we're going to peel down all the way around. If you are doing this and if you are doing zesting, you don't want that white part. It's very bitter. You see what we have? We have these segments here. So in order to get the segment out without interfering with this pith, we go right down in between the individual flesh, and look at that, it pops right out. That's called a supreme. So the seed is, like I say, it's flat. So this way it's going to be flat there in the middle. This way you can see that it's thinner, so a flat seed's not going to be like that. Kind of envision where that seed is in the middle, and you want to make slicing down on either side of the mango. So sometimes you do get right onto that seed. Let's see how I go. Oh, I'm good. And I realize that I've left a lot here. We'll come back to that. I am going to try my handy dandy grapefruit spoon. I think I might be getting it. There we go. Since it's flat, lay your hand flat. You can just kind of slice right across it like that. And then flabbed, slice, dice. So a hedgehog literally looks like the back of a hedgehog. Take your paring knife and make your slices. Please be careful. Kind of push it so that it went like that, and then you'd have all these square pieces on the top of it. Outside here is still usable, just kind of how we did with the cut before, so you can go right down and get some more out of it. And then with this, when nobody's looking, you just kind of start gnawing on it. There you go. Tips and tricks. Remember, there's a tool for everything in the kitchen, all the tasks. Have a great day. Cheers.
Hi, I'm making a dish called cottage pie, and it's actually not a pie at all. What it is actually a ground beef concoction that we're gonna make here that's super delicious. It's meat with a layer of potatoes over it, and we're gonna bake it in the oven, and it's gonna come out all crispy and delicious. And I've actually zhuzhed this recipe up a little bit, so it's not just your typical grandma's cottage pie. This is gonna be some good stuff. So everything on this table is what you're gonna need. First of all, you're gonna need a grated onion. You're gonna need a grated carrot. I used organic multicolored grated carrots because that's fun. 2 pounds of ground beef, some fresh thyme, some fresh rosemary, and 4 garlic cloves. Also, you're gonna need some salt and some pepper. And I have a tube of tomato paste here, half a tube. That should be like perfect. And to finish it off, we're gonna add some Worcestershire. Need to have that in your cupboard for those Bloody Mary mornings, maybe. You're also gonna need a good sized casserole dish, a pan that you can really get hot and brown stuff in. Also, you're gonna need about 3 tablespoons of olive oil and some red wine. So that's everything you're gonna need for the meat portion. For the mashed potatoes, you're gonna need a 3-pound bag of russet mashed potatoes. Also, you're gonna need a third of a cup of cream, 2 egg yolks, some Parmesan cheese, half a cup, and roughly 3.5 tablespoons of butter. I know it's not diet food, but it'll be the best mashed potatoes you've ever had, seriously. So what I did was I took a 3-pound bag of russet potatoes, peeled them, and put them in some boiling water for probably about 20 minutes. Checked them with a fork to make sure they were tender, and then mashed them all up. And then I added all these lovely ingredients like our cream, eggs, cheese, butter, of course, you gotta have butter and mashed potatoes. Butter, and then salt, pepper. That's it. For the second part of our dish that we're creating today, I'm gonna do the meat part. So we're gonna take our pan that already has 3 tablespoons of olive oil in there that we put earlier. We're gonna brown our ground beef. We're gonna add our ground beef, our carrot, our onion. We're gonna add some fresh herbs. Put a little salt there, a little kosher salt. That's always good. A little bit of pepper as well. And then we're ready to throw this together. So after we get this a bit browned up, we're gonna add tomato paste. I went ahead and added in the garlic, the wine, the Worcestershire, and we're just cooking it down for a few minutes. It's smelling delicious. It's gonna be so good when we put it all together. Okay, so this looks and smells amazing right now. So now we're ready to put it all together. So I'm gonna go ahead and scoop my meat on the bottom part here. Just kind of spread it out, very simple. We will go ahead and take our lovely mash we made earlier. And we're gonna kind of do like little peaks here. It's gonna get nice and browned and crispy on top. So we just kind of wanna keep that. All right, now it's ready to go into the oven. So we're gonna put it in our preheated 400-degree oven for about 25 minutes. I keep an eye on it. You might wanna keep it in for a little bit longer. We just wanna see it nice and browned and a little bit crispy. So let's do it. So here's the finished product. My take on a traditional cottage pie. It took about 45 minutes from beginning to end to make. So enjoy. It's just my version of cottage pie, and you can definitely put a spin on it of your own.
Was it good?
Yeah, it is really good. Eat it. Eat it.
What do you think, Rich?
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't suck, right? Hi, today I'm going to be making a dish called cottage pie. It's commonly known here as shepherd's pie, but the difference is we're using ground beef instead of ground lamb. So Hi. Hi, ooh. Hi. Oh.
Remember, we have a countdown.
Oh, that's right. Hi, so today I'm going to be making a... Hi, I'm making a dish today called shepherd's... Hi, I am making cottage pie today. Hi, I'm making cottage pie today, and I'd like to invite you to make it yourself.